Welcome to the Koi Farmer, where we focus on cultivating clarity in the complicated world of pharmacy benefits. I'm Justine. I'm a pharmacist with 20 years of experience in the business of pharmacy. And today we're going to be breaking down the concept of best price in our drug pricing index series. Let's dive in.
You're looking for the cure, but you're stuck in the weeds, bringing you insights into.
As we talk a little bit about the concept of best price, first we'll talk about what's included and what's not included in the best price calculations. We'll talk about some parallel concepts and how this flows through the Medicaid rebate program. In practice, one of the major things about the best price concept is that it really can create some substantial influence into the rebate practices in both the commercial and Medicare markets, although it's primarily tied to Medicaid manufacturer rebate reimbursement. And finally, we'll look at some of the fine print. How does best price get impacted by value-based contracts, bundled rebates, and which things are characterized as rebates and not as rebates for the purpose of calculating best price? Let's dive in. The concept of best price is fundamentally designed to create a system where Medicaid is able to get a lower price than many of the other lines of business in insurance in the United States. Best price is derived from a variety of different factors, which we'll go through. But importantly, best price comes out of commercial practices active in Medicare, commercial groups, and in qualified health plans, and aggregates into what is set as the best price in the industry for Medicaid. At a high level, best price starts with a simple question. What's the lowest price a manufacturer gives to any customer in the market? We begin with the left as a starting point. The amount paid by the wholesaler or the pharmacy. That's your gross price in the system. From there, we move into everything that reduces that price. Rebates are the most obvious. These are payments manufacturers make after the fact to plans or PBMs. Those count in the best price calculation, but it doesn't stop there. Value-based arrangements can also lower the effective price, and that can impact the best price. And then finally, copay assistance can also reduce what is effectively paid for the drug.
If the payer applies a corresponding accumulator tracking program to accrue payer value.
The key idea here is that best price isn't just about one transaction. It's about all the financial concessions tied to that drug from the manufacturer to the PBM or ultimate plan sponsor. All these elements combine to create a net price. And then across all customers, all contracts, and all channels, the lowest of those net prices becomes the best price. And that's what sets the benchmark for Medicaid rebates. So when we think about strategy, every rebate, every program, every concession has the potential to reset the floor in how products are reimbursed in the Medicaid space. And the last time we talked about everything that can pull best price down.
But just as important,
what is intentionally excluded? So there's specific categories where the government said, even if this lowers the effective price, we're not going to let it reset best price. For example, 340B prices are excluded. Those are already heavily discounted under a separate program. Sales to the Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, and IHS are also excluded. Those operate under their own statutory pricing procedures that, again, lead to somewhat lower prices in the market. Medicare Part D gap coverage discounts don't count towards the best price either. And you'll also see some exclusions in the patient assistance programs. In some cases, certain value-based arrangements, depending upon how they're structured, may be included or excluded from the calculation of best price. And then finally, how the service fees are structured does impact best price. So some of the service fees may be considered bona fide administrative fees that are not connected or characterized as rebates, and some are not. So not every dollar that lowers the price counts towards best price. These guardrails are designed to prevent certain programs from unintentionally driving up Medicaid rebate liabilities for manufacturers. So when the manufacturers design contracts, they're not just thinking about how low the price goes, they're thinking very carefully about whether that price will actually count in the calculation of best price. And as a quick reminder, we reviewed this in significant depth in our coverage of AMP, or average manufacturer price. And again, this is an example out of that series, which we'll link in the show notes below. So brand rebates and Medicaid are based on the greater of 23.1% of AMP, or AMP minus best price. And there's also an inflation adjustment component on top of that calculation. So in this particular example, where the AMP minus best price is greater than 23.1% of AMP, that's where the best price actually comes in and sets the rebate that manufacturers are liable to pay Medicaid payers. Similar to the way that some other indexes work, best price is self-reported by the manufacturer. So the manufacturer is calculating and reporting the best price quarterly to CMS. CMS goes ahead and takes that data in. They have the option to audit this data and review for any outliers or discrepancies. Because best price is linked to the commercial pricing in the United States, there is no public publishing of this information. If this were publicly published, manufacturers of one drug would be able to more easily distinguish what manufacturers of another drug were rebating or how they were pricing their drug, creating antitrust concerns. Manufacturers are bound to continuously monitor the actual best price and submit to CMS any updates for impacted quarters, even if those quarters occurred in the past. So we talked a little bit about how best price impacts rebates payable from the manufacturers on Medicaid claims. The rest of the series, we're going to talk about how that concept translates into strategy differences in how manufacturers rebate and price products in other lines of business in the industry. In the years that I've spent working in the formulary rebate space, I found that oftentimes best price comes up. In a commercial or Medicare negotiation, the PBM may push for better rebates, may push for more pricing concessions, and eventually the drug manufacturer may state that they're not able to create any more movement without impacting best price. Again, a pricing concession given from a drug manufacturer to a single player in the channel, a single plan or a single PBM, could move best price across that entire product for that manufacturer. This creates a disincentive in some regards for manufacturers to offer improved commercial rebates or Medicare rebates due to potential Medicaid margin reduction. How manufacturers and PBMs characterize rebates can impact whether something's included in the best price calculation or it's excluded from that calculation. So we'll talk a little bit about how those things work in this section. One common area of cited challenge from manufacturers, PBMs, and plan sponsors is that there's been an increase lately in appetite for value-based contracts. Drug products that may have a curative effect can be very expensive. And the manufacturers have pretty good data to determine how many folks will be cured, how many folks may fail treatment. And this creates an area where the various players in the drug channel are actually trying to work together to connect value to payment in a way that seems favorable. But best price often comes up in this type of discussion because these types of contracts can impact the best price calculation. So in the case where, again, the patient is cured, maybe there's no additional rebate. If the patient's not cured, the patient may be retreated for free or have an additional rebate trigger. In the case where, for example, there's a product that's dispensed for free or the product is rebated at 100% due to this type of contract, it can be possible that there can be best price implications that can create additional rebate liability in Medicaid for manufacturers. The next concept is about what is a rebate and what is not a rebate. And so we all know about the concept of product is preferred on formulary or there's reduced utilization management, and the manufacturer pays a rebate to the PBM or directly to the plan sponsor in exchange for this placement. However, there's a number of other dollars that are exchanging hands in the drug channel that are not necessarily counted as rebates. So drug manufacturers may pay pharmacies, especially specialty pharmacies, data fees. They may pay the PBM manufacturer admin fee, which is in theory meant to create a payment for the bona fide service that the PBM is administering and passing through rebates to the plan sponsors. And then similarly, the manufacturers may pay something called bona fide service fees or GPO fees to a group purchasing organization that assembles various rebate contracts for their services. A lot of times these contracts also include elements of data exchange in exchange for dollars, aggregated data moving from the GPO to the manufacturer, and that triggering a payment from the manufacturer to the GPO in exchange for access to that information. The last concept on best price that I want to review is debatably the most complex. So as we talk about rebated products, a lot of times a manufacturer may have several different products, and they may each stand on their own contractually as far as what the rebate payment will be. However, sometimes a manufacturer may say, hey, I've got these 3 products, and I'm going to tie them together. So for example, If you cover drug products 1, 2, and 3 in a preferred position, we'll either give you a better rebate on one of the products or on all of the products. So that creates a bundling effect when the rebate is contingent on the placement of the different products on the formulary. When bundling moves the rebate across all products evenly, it makes sense that the best price would move for all of those products. However, there is also a phenomenon where the contract bundles products together in their establishment of what rebate should be paid, that this can move best price for all of the products. So in this example, the rebate changes only for product 2 and stays the same for the other products as a result of formulary placement. However, because these products are priced in a bundle format and the rebates are paid in a bundle format underneath the manufacturer contract, the best price will move for all of these products at once, even though the rebate only moved for one of these products. Thanks for sticking with us to explore the concept of best price in our Drug Pricing Index series. As always, if you enjoyed this episode or learned something, we appreciate any likes or subscribes to our channel or our LinkedIn page. We also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to or feedback that you can provide at our website, www.thekoifarmer.com. And if you're watching this video or some of our other content and thinking, man, I feel like there's a number of people in my organization that could benefit from understanding the drug channel a little bit more easily, from some more clear explanation of some of these different concepts, please let us know. Drop us a line at www.thekoifarmer.com.
You're looking for the cure.